So hello and welcome once again to the Layout New Junction. Right, it's been a rather busy January so far, but yes, the trains are running. However, work is going to continue apace, and I'm going to take you straight to the workbench at the other end of the layout. So you join me here on my becoming very messy workbench. So it's a proper workbench. We're actually getting some real jobs done on the new space. Now, I mentioned in the last video I needed a new wall type. I wanted it to be a bit lower than the current one, so I could add in a bit of scenery, a bit of greenery, just to break up the scene and not have that solid wall look that the station has. Now, the station gets away with it because obviously you've got the two stations, which are very imposing. So I think it breaks up the wall quite nicely and also justifies it being there. Whereas where the sort of depot area will be, it'd be nice to add a bit more less kept scenery, so a bit more shrubbery, etc. So this was my current wall, and it didn't take me long to mock up this one. So this is a new version of the same wall. It is, well, just under, I think it's half the height, but just under half the height. And I can get two per sheet. And yeah, this works very well. And this is what I've been cutting out before me because I need 6 more to fill the space. So that's what I'm going to get on with now and get these built up. So we're at the halfway point of the build of the small walls. Now I need these to dry absolutely solid before we go on to the next phase, which is putting them together and putting the angled walling in. So while these are drying, I'm going to take you over to the depot scene and we'll talk about the track plan. So welcome back to the depot scene. So last time I did say whether I should stick a point somewhere here and go in to then go back, but having a play around with some track, I'm just not going to have the space for a head shunt to be able to do that. So annoyingly, unless I really redo this bit, because it's got to prepare to go around the tight curve that way, it's just not an option. So what I'm going to do is take this left-handed express point, and if I can just push this 31 slightly back without derailing it. Right, so coming over to this extreme left-hand side, I'm actually going to put this express point just on the passing loop. However, now you can probably just about see there's a baseboard join just here. So I've got to keep that in mind. So to try and make my life easier, I'm going to put this just forward enough that both lots of rails, both routes, if you like, are just over the baseboard join, and then I will Dremel them off and then continue onto the other board. So that's the plan, just to make my life a bit easier. it should just go straight into that without being too much of an issue, he says. So if I put that, it's going to be somewhere like that. So what I'm going to do, because I've not got any spare points, I'm going to take this piece of tape now and just line up where I think the track will go. So that is it in a nutshell, very simply. You've got the siding coming off. This will probably end up being a right-hand point, probably a medium bullhead right-hand point, to allow some external storage. Then it goes to the two lanes which will go into a depot. And then of course you've got the head shunt for should I wish to shunt some bits about. And the priority there was making sure that it was long enough for the long diesels which will be coming in and out of the depot. Could even make this a bit of a fueling point, something a bit like that, but we'll see how that plays out. But no, as a general rule, I'm quite happy with that. Very simple. This helps me, again, plan out what I need to buy track-wise. So, dare I say, it's just 1 point. A couple of buffer stops, and away we go. So the next thing I'm going to do is get back on with building the walls, because then I'll put them in situ and see how they look at framing the overall scene. Right, so that's the main structure of the smaller walls built. I'm now going to let these dry, and then we'll take them over to the layout and see how they sit amongst the proposed track plan. And then we'll look at what building to do next. In the meantime though, while these are drying, I think I'm going to, behind the scenes, tidy this desk up, because there's nothing worse than having a messy work area. I think, as you can see, it's looking like I'm about to start nesting. So, yeah, I want to do that, and I'll see you in a mo with these. And there we are. As you can see, the wall is in place, leaving just enough room for the polystyrene, which I'll put in momentarily to add a bit of greenery, a bit of shrubbery. But as we can see, we've got the handful of excess cuts, and they are in the rail stuff packaging, ready for the Doncaster show. Just looks a bit nicer on the shelves, doesn't it? So what we've got the pack we've always had, the wall pieces, which are the full height jobs. Then you've got a right hand slope and a left hand slope, which are basically these two in a pack. So you get two pieces in a pack. And then you've also got the small walls. Again, you get two pieces in a sheet, so you get 1 and 2. Right, so the wall's in now, and that's looking good. Before I stick this in, I will get to adding the polystyrene, which will fill in the space behind, and I'll sculpt that. I am going to trim this board down with the jigsaw ever so slightly, because it sticks out a bit and I lose a bit of room there, and there's no real need for it to stick out so far when I'm going to use polystyrene to sculpt a bit of landform. But that's another job. So continuing the depot while the laser's up and running, I have been cutting out some more bits. So I thought I'd cut out a depot. So as you can see, this is what I've been working on. Doesn't look like much. So studying the Kidderminster diesel depot, I wanted to create the sort of, not, I suppose it is modern, it's a modern depot building, but I wanted to create the skeleton that goes inside and then it gets cladded, and that becomes the Heritage Railway has received funding to have a new depot, in this case a diesel depot. So what I particularly like about this style is they tend to be bright and airy, still messy as ever, but because they're new build and tall, making room for a crane, that should give a nice vista, and of course you get an opportunity to have a crane in the background. I really like that. So this was just a test of concept. As you can see, it kind of works. It's not quite straight in any way at all. However, this was the first attempt. The second attempt, where we've now refined it ever so slightly, is this. So we've hunkered down the size ever so slightly, and we've worked on how to, I have worked on how to create the equal spacing. It's still a bit fragile, but as it glues, it gets stronger. So that will go somewhere like that. Now, as you can see initially, it goes right over my track, so there will need to be some fettling with the baseboard to be able to push the depot that way. So as I switch view, you get a much better understanding of the sort of thing I'm trying to go for. So as I mentioned, I wanted it relatively tall to the locos to make room for a crane. I've gone as big as I can in the space, but also not as small as I could do, because I don't really want to compromise, because I want this to also double up as a place to stick the camera, and you get some nice footage on the inside. The outside cladding I will probably do as magnetic, so you can take it on and off at will, and then you can get your photos at any which point. So all the cladding doesn't need to come off. You could take this piece off or the front off and things, and you can get your phone in and get some nice photos, because that's a big part of the hobby, as you know, because you're watching it. But I think you get the gist here. I just need to work on a few things, a few of the details. As you can see, I can place a door in. I've worked on that just to give it a bit more scale. So as it stands, to get again, using my test bed loco, to get that in and the door shut, I'm going to need just probably 2 more sections to that to get that in, realistically. So that's probably there. It's probably the size of it's going to end up being. And the wall's going to have to go back, obviously, to make room here, because this is where it gets a bit of a pinch point. However, it's not too much of an issue. It does restrict the siding down the front. That'll stop in front, but we're going to have a concrete hard standing for that. And then, of course, same again for inside the depot. But yeah, work in progress, but I'm very happy with how the skeleton of the building is coming on. I've got some special card coming, which imitates corrugated steel, which should clad this, and then of course we'll add lights and things like that. And so this just gets more and more finesse now. The design is saved. I just tweak it, I build it, tweak it, build it, tweak it, and add bits to it. All I need to do is, so as I put these things together, ultimately, because of the size of laser bed I have, this is the sheet I'm working with before I need to cut an extra sheet. So what I try and do is get as many pieces on one board so there's no waste. So I think I'll be able to get what I need to make this the right size just for the frames on one board. But watch this space. So what I'll do now is, away from the camera, I will go away and work on this some more and basically finish off the back end of the framework. And yeah, it's coming together quite nicely, I think. So, since the last clip, it has been a few days, and I put a photo up of the track plan onto my social media pages, predominantly Facebook, and overwhelmingly, everyone said this was too busy. So, I've had to think about it, and even though I wanted the play value, I do have a lot of play value, and I've got the sidings further down the layout, so I've decided, for now, to strip back this to just the 2 sidings which will go into the depot. So while I'm still sulking because I've got rid of all my point work, I have been working on the depot frame, and as you can see now, this is as good as there, apart from the doors and the actual walkway doors for people. This is as good as I'm going to say as it is. Just needs a bit of fettling. But this is the prototype skeleton complete. So I will put that there, get it in position, and away we go. Now it is a bit tight down here, but that's all for fettling later on. In fact, I could just move it forward actually. It's caught. What's it caught on? Oh, class 50. So I've put the side door in, and I've also put the frames for the potential shed doors just in position for now, but the rest of it is glued solid. Now, I did have a lot of great feedback actually on the image I showed of this online, and rightly so. A lot of you pointed out the supports to stop it all collapsing like a deck of cards. Now, not necessarily for the model, but for the real thing, they are there in place, and I've copied them, the diagonal pieces, in all 4 corners. The rear now has more frames, so it keeps it straight. And I think if I was to recommend anyone else copying this, start with the back panel, because that is the most square of them all, and it'll hold the rest in shape as you glue it. But no, I'm really chuffed with this. It's coming on really well. It's almost perfect length. So if I push the class 50 in, you can see wall to wall, nose to the end, as I should say. The face is just sticking out. Now, 50 is particularly long as a diesel, but I'm working on trying to get certain pieces, so the lengths, which hopefully you can see behind all the trains, the actual left to right lengths, the full lengths, are one solid piece currently, and that's because that's the maximum I can get on the laser. So in reality, I probably need one more section, as I mentioned earlier, just to extend it by 1. So that is something I'm going to have to take away and have a closer look at. The next thing I need to look at is the cladding for the actual building. So I did think I can get this corrugated card off the internet, and it's flat one side, corrugated on the other. Comes in all sorts of colours, but white seems to be probably the safest option to go first. And if I just gently place that up against the front, now obviously it is a thin card. There you go, push my doors away. So yeah, you get the rough gist about that. So yeah, you get the rough idea with that. It's I think painted up. I think a good suggestion I had was to paint the inside black first and then paint the whole thing grey in primer before carrying on, just to sort of stop any potential light bleed. But I think hopefully you'll agree that that should look exactly like the effect I was going for. Maybe a tad over scale, but yeah, I think once in situ, it'll be all right. Right, it's a slight edit because I got out the kids' little clothes pegs and I've just pinned it for now. But the general idea is I will probably make a frame for the card because it's quite flimsy, as you can see. But I think it looks okay with the corrugated, but as you can see, very flimsy. So what I will do is create a little frame which will stick to the corrugated sheets, and then I'll probably make room for small magnets on both the frame and the cladding, so then the cladding can then stick on and come off with ease. But then when it comes to painting, I think because it's white card, I'll probably have to spray the underside black, which was suggested to me very handily, and then spray the whole thing grey, at which I will use the usual Paint Factory colour quick drying primer. And there we have it. As you can see, the scene is coming on at quite a rapid pace. I'm trying not to run away with myself in some regards, but then others it's out of my control. So a lot of this has been done over January, a traditionally tighter month, hence the lack of track work for this update. However, it is fast approaching payday, and I'll be able to grab that missing point, and I'll be able to get the track and power in, I'll be able to get trains running, and then I'll be able to move on with the scene. So next on the list, I think in the very short term, is I think I'm going to have a mass painting sessions, because the platforms need painting, the walling needs painting, and of course the depot needs further tweaks. But all good fun, so do let me know in the comments what you think. Do you prefer the lesser track work, or do you prefer more track work? And of course, again, if you want any of the walling pieces, there are a handful spare on the Rail Stuff website. Link is down below in the description. So I will say a big thank you as ever for watching, a big thank you to the channel patrons for keeping my options alive with the behind the scenes content, and of course a big thank you to you at home for watching. So no more waffling from me. I will say bye for now, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care, guys.